All right, welcome guys. If you are wondering what wholesaling real estate is and the quickest explanation on the internet explaining what it actually is and giving you guys the actual paperwork that you need, then this is the video for you. What is wholesaling real estate? Wholesaling real estate doesn't even matter what property it is. The property can be on the MLS, meaning it can be listed. The property can be off market. The property can be a residential property, can be a commercial property, can be an industrial property. It does not matter what the property is. What matters is the contract that you are going to use during that transaction. So we're going to scroll all the way down to number 7, and you're going to see that in the Florida as is contract, which is the most standard contract that you're going to find in Florida used across all realtors, you're going to see that number 7 says assignability. And there is 3 options. The first option says you may assign this contract and be released from any liabilities. The second option is you may assign and not be released from any liability. And the third option is you may not assign. Now, depending on what you guys check off on this specific section of the contract is what's going to allow you guys to either wholesale this property or not be able to wholesale this property. But there is a loophole around. Stick to the end. We're going to talk about that. Okay, so let's assume that you filled out this contract. You clicked on may assign this contract and you signed and the seller signed. Now, you guys filled out this entire contract, meaning you guys talked about purchase price, you guys talked about escrow, you guys talked about inspection periods, you guys talked about what days you're going to close, and you pretty much have a filled out contract. Now, let's say you, the viewer, is the person that's selling me the house, and we get under contract, meaning I send you this contract, and within my contract, I put may assign this contract. You're happy. You thinking that I am the buyer. You thinking that I am the person that's going to bring the money to the table. You and I agreed on $300,000. So that is what you're going to receive at the table. Now, you don't know that I have a buyer, I have a buddy, I have somebody that I know that is actually willing to give me $320,000 for your house. So what happens there? I make the difference. I make the $20,000. Okay. So at the end of the day, some people may say, oh, you guys are screwing the sellers or you guys are taking fortunes away from the sellers. The answer is no, not necessarily. You guys need to understand that us and the seller, you guys in this scenario, we are agreeing on a number. And when I go and I find this buyer and I tell him, hey, I have this house that I'm looking to sell for $320,000. Sometimes it's $20,000 assignment fee. Sometimes it's $10,000 assignment fee. Sometimes it's $500 assignment fees. But there is always an assignment fee that is paid by the buyer, not by the seller. At the end of the day, the seller walks away with what him and I or her and I discussed right when we signed this contract. Okay? Now, how do I assign it to the buyer, right? I'm going to give you guys access to a second piece of paper that is called an assignment of contract. So this took me a really long time to understand. You actually need 2 pieces of paper. You need the original contract between you and the seller that has all the original terms on it. And then you're going to need a second piece of contract, which is called the assignment of contract. Check the link below, or if not, I will give you guys free access to our assignment of purchase. And this is the paper that you're going to fill out now between you and that end buyer, okay? And pretty much in this paper, it's just going to say your assignment fee, how much you're actually selling this house for, and who the buyer is, and who your company is. And this paper, think of it as an addendum for those of you guys that know, is going to get attached to the original contract and is going to get sent to title. Now, title is going to check that the original contract is assignable and that you are the person that has control of that assignment and that you assigned it to this end buyer. Now, in this assignment of contract, please pay attention to number 5, where it says further assignments. Just because you are assigning it to an end buyer doesn't not mean that that end buyer cannot go ahead and assign it to somebody else. So that's why it is important that if you are a wholesaler, you don't go down the road of something that's called a Dixie chain, meaning multiple people are trying to sell your house and everybody's trying to make money off of that same house. So make sure that in your assignment of contract, which if you use ours, and again, is free to you guys, you can check on there where it says this agreement is not assignable. So now you're giving him you're taking away his right to go and assign this property. That way you make sure that you're only dealing with end buyers and people that are actually willing to bring the money to the table. So overall, again, just remember, it's a contract between myself as a middleman and the seller, okay? And I can show you guys calls of what that looks like. We'll be uploading some phone calls of how we call our sellers. But pretty much you do come off as a buyer. You are trying to purchase this property, and you are making sure that your property is assignable. And then we do go ahead and we do find a buyer that is willing to pay us an assignment fee for that contract, okay? Now, like mentioned, there is a loophole around this, and I told you stick around to the end and we would talk about it. What is the loophole? If the seller does not want to sign a contract that is assignable because they understand that what could potentially happen, then it is okay to sign this contract not assignable. And what happens is at title, you will have to do something that is called a double close. Now, you will need the money for this, or title does need to lend you the money for this. But essentially what happens is you go to the title company, you close between you and the seller. You guys officially close, you own the house, and you only own the house for a couple of minutes while the end buyer that is sitting outside of that title company comes in and you sell the house over to them. So in this case, that is called a double transaction. It is a little more expensive and people try to avoid it just because you are getting charged twice, because there technically is two closings happening on the same day. They are just a matter of minutes from one another. So if you have a seller that is not willing to allow you to assign this contract, and you know you got a really good deal, you can still go ahead and get it under contract. Tell your title company that you need something that's called a gator lending, okay? We'll be doing some more videos in regards to gator lendings. And they essentially let you borrow the money for a couple of minutes while the end buyer comes in and pays for the house. So if you guys don't know how to calculate all of these numbers, go over to our Shopify store and check out the spreadsheet that we have on there. It will absolutely tell you everything that you need to know in regards to wholesaling, fix and flip, rentals, if you're buying as a subject to, or if you're trying to wrap a property, okay? All of that from within the spreadsheet, and we will be doing updates to it. We're gonna be adding repairs and things for the fix and flip construction side of stuff. But that's on another topic. Come back for another video, okay? But hopefully we have explained to you guys in a 10-minute video what wholesaling is, and then we can show you guys proof of concepts on how do these things actually look and how do they actually work. So stick around and don't forget to check out more of our stuff